Oh, God, we're still recording.
1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James, and Chris Dale.
Here we are again.
Hello. It's so nice to see you.
It's always nice to see you. It's always nice to see them as well, our wonderful Podsterons.
Lovely to see you too, Podsterons.
Welcome. Yeah. Here we have a pod 272 of the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
272. Correct.
That is correct, isn't it?
Well done.
I panicked then when you looked a little unsure.
No, you're doing very well on facts. So, seeing as you are, who are you?
I'm Richard James. Who are you?
Jamie Lionel Anderson.
Oh, you've gone for the full-on kind of middle name thing, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right, I might do that next time. Yeah.
You can keep your secrets next time, but we also have Christopher Richard Randomiser Dale.
There he
over
is.
There. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
There. Looking splendid today, isn't he?
Well, he's always looking splendid.
Yeah.
He has extra splendid today.
Extra splendid. He has the best job of all of us because a little later on, he'll be sitting down in front of his amazing randomiser to watch a random episode of a Gerry Anderson series and give us his thoughts and comments.
You're absolutely right. Do you know what the nice thing about this podcast is? That we all have our little contributions to make, don't we?
Little contributions.
Well, I certainly do. My little contribution is FAB Facts, which will be coming up very, very shortly. Everybody loves FAB Facts, particularly you. Didn't you say recently that it was the favourite thing in your life?
That was under duress. Extremely stressful few minutes.
Yeah, it was a stressful few minutes. Fair enough.
You know, I would have said anything in that moment. So don't hold it against me.
Fine. Well, it's my only contribution to this, really.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll be coming to you also in your home studio for the newsy news a little later on.
Okay.
So don't do yourself down.
A lovely pair of contributions.
Right.
What do you bring to proceedings, precisely?
That's a question I often ask myself. Well, actually, today I can tell you I'm bringing you an interview with the wonderful Ayshea Brough from UFO. Oh, I know. Isn't that amazing? So I'll be talking to her a little later on about her life and career, of course. Her association with the first live-action series that Gerry produced, if we're not counting Secret Service.
You can't count Secret Service as live action.
Exactly. So I'll be talking to her about that, and also her wonderful music career, her presenting career.
Lift off.
I know. We'll have a little clip of that to show later on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's all in there. So yes, join us for Ayshea Brough a little later on, and in between all that, of course, well, I mean, we're talking about contributions that you make to the podcast and contributions that I might make to the podcast.
And Chris.
And Chris, of course, is the randomiser. But really, they all pale to insignificance in the face of our wonderful Podsterons.
Absolutely.
Because without them, we wouldn't be here.
No. Well, we could be here, but very much like a tree falling in the forest, no one would know.
No.
It would make no sound.
That's true. So we'll be seeing what they've been emailing in at podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Well remembered.
We'll also be visiting our Facebook group. Did you know that we have an official listeners Facebook group?
Really?
We do. And people comment there, and they leave pictures and comments and messages and thoughtful things, and sometimes not so thoughtful things.
Oh.
And I'll be reading them all out. It'll be up to you to decide which are thoughtful and which are not so thoughtful.
I was about to say, it sounds like a lovely place on the internet, and then you said, and other non-thoughtful things.
No, they're a wonderful bunch, as well we know. So yes, that's all coming up in pod 272 of the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Good. Well, I can wait no longer to give you my contribution. So,
right.
Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
I'm going to give you a FAB fact.
Great.
Now, time for this week's FAB Facts.
Well,
What?
FAB facts.
Yes.
You know the name of the. Well, you know the name of the game, but do you know the aim of the game?
The aim of the game, yes, it's to bamboozle, stimulate, kerfuffle, and discombobulate me.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But also, it's hopefully to deliver a FAB fact to our lovely Podsterons by way of this fantastic tome of FAB facts.
The tome.
Yeah, the great big tome. There are many facts in this book, and I will flick through, and you will shout FAB, stopping me at a random page. Very random.
Oh, fair enough.
And hopefully upon that page we will find a FAB fact. Are you ready, Richard, with your FAB?
Born ready.
The book is primed and ready. So am I. Hang on.
Oh, very good. A little preparation this
Yeah,
week.
prepare my flicking thumb.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yep. Fab!
How did I do? Very well.
Good.
Well, I mean, Let's see.
All right.
In the Book of Fab Facts this week,
Yes.
well, over the years, we've covered several instances of puppets suffering from real-life damage or disfigurement, as I'm sure you'll remember.
Oh, they were the highlights, weren't they? I
Some of
enjoyed
our
those.
favourite moments,
Yeah.
particularly for non-Super Mario Nation fans. You might remember the infamous story of Lady Penelope losing her leg to a crocodile.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah?
Yes.
Or the equally infamous story of Venus being left to burn during shooting of the final episode of Fireball XL5. I think it was in a beach hut or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Rings a bell as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, this week we're returning to the world of cruelty towards puppets.
Hooray!
But we're heading into the 1980s. And to the day when a member of the Terrahawks cast suffered a double indignity during a photo call.
Oh, it wasn't Jeremy Hitchens, was it?
We can only hope it was Jeremy, but no. Some of you will be aware that Bray Studios, where the series is filmed, is situated along the River Thames.
Yes.
And if you've seen the Making the Unexpected special feature on the Terrahawks DVDs and Blu-rays, then you might have seen footage of Alan Patillo sitting on a lawn by the river with boats going past in the background, you know.
Now, that sounds like the beginning of a children's rhyme, doesn't it?
You can complete it later. It's a rather picturesque spot by the river there, and no doubt members of the Terrahawks production team had lunch breaks and so on, whenever they weren't in the pub, obviously.
Well, obviously.
They were there a lot.
Yes.
Since it looked so nice, the riverside lawn was also a good spot to hold photo calls.
Okay.
And according to Steve Begg, that's what was going on one fateful day during the production of Terrahawks.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear. Dad and Christopher Bow were apparently showing off their Rolls Royces to the press. I mean, why wouldn't you? And the main Terrahawks puppets were assembled on the ground under a tree nearby, waiting for their turn on the cameras. Everything was going fine until the arrival of Sonny.
Sonny?
Sonny.
Stop there. I'm guessing Sonny was a dog.
Sonny was a collie dog, owned by the son of the manager of Bray Studios. Seeing the Terrahawks puppets sitting under a tree,
No.
Sonny charged in, grabbed everyone's favourite, Tiger Neinstein, between his teeth and made off with him. When pursued, Sonny took the only way out left to him and leapt into the river.
Great.
With Tiger Neinstein still a helpless prisoner between his teeth.
No.
Thankfully, both Sonny and Tiger were recovered from the river, and Neinstein was returned to his Terrahawks castmates, a little soggy, but apparently none the worse for wear.
Oh,
Very
really?
robust, isn't
Very
it?
robust.
Watching this from the studio bar, Steve remembers it causing much hilarity to everyone present, of course, except for Dad and Christopher. But thankfully, they eventually saw the funny side of this too.
How odd that Steve Begg, of all people, should be in the studio bar. It's very unlike him.
It beggars belief. Oh,
Very good.
Come on, that was pretty good.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank
how
you.
robust are these figures then? I mean, I'm guessing also, now my darling wife Charlotte Serple has a story about Paul Zerdin's puppet.
Does she?
That was
Can that
rather
be shared?
It was rather smelly. Paul Zerdin was a ventriloquist.
Yes, I remember.
And he'd used his puppet for so long, obviously sweaty hands as well, you know, Jamie.
Oh, very, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the smell of said aforementioned sweat had transferred itself to the interior of said aforementioned puppet. So what I mean to is I'm guessing the dog picked that up. That's perhaps why he went for Neinstein.
I think it was early days, though. They probably weren't that well
sweaty.
handed, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, they just looked like toys, I
suppose so.
suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they were foam rubber.
Right.
So I guess the
Gosh.
faces were probably not great, but I guess he grabbed them by the body
Yeah.
and therefore,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Close escape.
well, what a hero.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a Terrahawks adventure to me.
Perhaps a future one.
Why didn't that ever appear in the episodes? That's what I want to know. Big Finish, are you listening?
Yes, maybe Sonny could come in and do a cameo. Probably sadly no longer with us. Anyway, there you go. Podsterons, if you're aware of any other canine misadventures for puppets, there were some, of course. Secret Service.
Oh, yeah?
Which they filmed in Dad and Sylvia's garden. There was an
Yeah.
episode with the dog and Matthew the puppet. I'm sure something must have happened there. So maybe there's a pattern. Maybe we can create a little playlist of Fab Facts all about canine misadventures for puppets.
Maybe we can.
Or maybe not. Anyway, well, I look forward to that. Email us podcast@gerryanderson.com if you can think of any other dog-related misadventures. But for now,
Yes.
that brings us
Yes.
to the end of this week's
Yeah, it's got to be
Dog Fact. Thank goodness.
What else could it be?
Canine Fact.
Canine fact. Sunny
yeah.
fact.
Sunny. No, Dog Fact was great. Happy with
dog
that. Well
fact,
done, well done.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that was quite good. I enjoyed that one. Yes.
Quite
Not bad.
good.
Not bad. But join us next week, of course, at Pod 273, when we'll have perhaps an even better Fab Fact. You never know. It's one of those things to look forward to in the sense that it might be better next week.
Yes.
I think that's what brings people.
The only
out.
way is up. That's what you're
the only
saying
way is
thank
up.
you.
Let's hope so, yeah. So coming up a little later on, we have the amazing Randomiser, of course, and the first part of an interview with the UFO's Ayshea Brough. So looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that. Are you going to ask her the question?
About the thing.
The one that they always ask about her.
Yeah. Well, we might even have a look at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I might ask her to show it to us.
Something to look forward to. You won't be able to hear it, but you will be able to see it on the video version of the podcast.
That's right. Yes, exactly. That's true. Yes, it'd be a bit strange in audio, but there we are. You'll have to grin and bear it. But of course, our wonderful Podsterons have been in touch as ever, and we'll be hearing from them a little later on. But I just want to say, of course, you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on.
You can.
Particularly on YouTube. I think there's a little bell as well, so you can get notifications. You can comment beneath all these videos. We love to hear what your thoughts are about the podcast and all things Gerry Anderson in general. Also, don't forget to leave a nice rating. That's a review and a rating to let us know how we're doing.
That.
Yeah, copy a link to all your socials, spam your friends, and let them know what you're listening to.
Don't tell them to spam people.
I like it.
Goodness me.
That's fine.
No, but sharing's great. And, if you at Podsterons have managed to introduce the podcast to a friend or family member or a stranger on a bus, do let us know. Or if perhaps you are that person who was introduced to the podcast by a Podsteron on the bus.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you, podcast@gerryanderson.com.
We would, because a recent podcast, I think, was it Tabitha who had instigated a Gerry Anderson night with a casual friend? Gerry Anderson viewer, yes.
It was a casual night in with a friend.
That's
right. I don't think it was a casual friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if Tabitha's also introduced her friend to the podcast.
Oh.
That's pretty hardcore,
If
isn't
not
it?
Tabitha, you must.
Would you start there, though, with the podcast, or...
That's
With
a
a
tricky
newbie?
one, isn't it?
It is a tricky one, yeah. Anyway, talking of tricky ones,
Yes?
that tricky old Jamie Anderson with the glasses.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes.
Got to watch him, because he's bringing us this week's newsy news.
I can't wait. Let's hand over to other Jamie Anderson in the studio. Hello, Anderson aficionados. Jamie Anderson here again to keep you up to speed with all things from the worlds that Dad created. So buckle up and let's get started. First up, the long-anticipated reveal, The Secrets of the Secret Service is now open for pre-orders, and I've got a little inside info for you. For those that jump on this quickly, you might just snag an exclusive print to accompany this comprehensive deep dive from Chris Dale, no less, into the Super Mario Nation era's hidden treasure. But hurry! These exclusive, special launch extras are flying off the virtual shelves. For all you eager beavers looking to prepare for 2024, our new calendars drop this Thursday. And here's a little incentive for you. Order early and we'll even throw in a nifty keyring as a bonus. We're all set to ship these from the get-go, so you won't have to wait very long to get your 2024 Thunderbirds and Space 1999 calendars. Now for our social media mavens, did you score one of those exclusive Thunderbirds t-shirts on TikTok? If not, a quick dash over there might still yield success. And while you're there, why not join Willow for one of her regular live sessions? You can engage, chat and celebrate with a fellow passionate Podsteron. Have you been keeping up with our YouTube channel? If not, you're probably missing out on a rather amazing treasure trove of content. From in-depth interviews to full episodes, it is a Gerry Anderson paradise out there. Dive in at youtube.com/GerryAndersonTV. Lastly, as we edge closer to September, there's a whirlwind of events on the horizon. Between Breakaway Day and Thunderbirds Day, we're cooking up some rather special surprises. A little bird, or should I say a certain group of furry friends, or maybe fiends, told me that they might just make an unexpected appearance soon. Keep those eyes peeled, it's going to be a month to remember. Well, that's your lot for this week. Thank you for joining me, and as always, remember to expect the unexpected. Back to Richard and Jamie in the studio.
News.
Always news.
Just news, isn't
Can't
it?
shut him up.
You really can't. can you?
Unbelievable.
Is he ever going to be in the studio with us? That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh,
one
I
day?
hope not.
We could do a little split screen thing.
Isn't one of me enough? Do you really want two?
Yeah, I'd like to see a scene where News Jamie walks in, but he's got like an evil goatee, and he could be like the evil twin in the relationship.
I think we could do that. Right, editing magic on the way in a future podcast, maybe.
Talking of magic,
Yes.
aren't our Podsterons magic?
That was the best segue I've ever heard.
No, but they are, and I'll tell you why. Because they email us every week at podcast@gerryanderson.com, and we collate those emails into a little section that we like to call the Voice of the Podsterons.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
So,
Yes.
here we are. Lots of messages again. Simpsons Clips 24
Yes.
has got in touch.
Regular emailer.
Of course. Hello, Rich and Jamie. I do like the look of your new visual studio. And to paraphrase the second Doctor, you've had this place redecorated, haven't you? I like it.
Oh.
That's a relief.
Thank
Which
goodness.
leads me to a question. 7 years ago, I remember going to an exhibition about British children's TV, featuring characters like Gordon the Gopher, the Wombles, Sooty and Morph, etc. I remember them all. But the strangest thing about it was that Lavender Castle got a representation in the form of Short Fred Lead's puppet, which surprised me at the time, as I didn't think, and still don't, that the show was popular enough to warrant representation. But what I'd like to know is, where is Short Fred Lead's puppet now? SIG, Simpsons Clips 24.
Well, I have an answer to that.
You don't know, do you?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yes, how did you guess? No, I imagine that it's in McKinnon and Saunders' archive. Because they
Okay.
quite regularly manage to get some stuff out into various exhibits. And they
Yep.
recently had, I think, Roger and Leica at an exhibition up near
yes.
Manchester. I might be imagining that, but I'm pretty sure.
Great.
So yeah, it'll probably be in their archive somewhere.
Wow.
I don't think there's anybody else who would own those puppets now
I mean, it's always nice to see an original prop or puppet in the wild, isn't it?
in the wild.
Well, it's a bit more of a frisson than seeing, a replica.
Oh yeah.
To actually see the real and actual thing.
Warts and all, particularly in
and
Short Fred Lead's case.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So there we are. Simpsons Clips. We don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll try and find out.
Yeah.
I have a message here from Matt Edmonds.
Oh, yes.
Writing about the Battle for Kestra, 5 Star 5, your book.
It is, yes, the final third book in the trilogy of the 5 Star 5 series.
So I thought you'd like this.
Yeah, go
'cause,
on.
You, know,
Only
you,
bit.
you love it when it's about you, don't you?
Well,
Even if it's
Depends.
not that positive.
no.
Matt writes, really enjoyed the first two, and this will be perfect timing to read on holiday in a couple of weeks. That's the third
Oh,
one.
lovely.
A shame in some ways that there will only be 3, as there seem to be lots of aspects that could be explored more deeply, but grateful that we get them at all.
Well, yes.
Yes, aren't we all?
I
Matt?
mean, actually, if you look at the final line of that third and supposedly final part of the trilogy, there is a phrase there that sums up, what may or may not happen in the future.
Is it you writing, can I do another one?
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay, thought so.
Hi there, podcats, says Mark Perkins. I listen to the podcast when I'm out for a run and often have an idea for an email which I promptly forget by the time I get home. That's fair enough. But
Well done, Mark.
he says I've managed to remember this week.
Well done, Mark.
Now, here we go. We've already addressed this, but he says Uncle Rubbish, which was your name for Lee Sullivan, a previous guest on the
Correct.
podcast, was a character in the Grumbleweeds radio show and possibly on TV too. It was a very funny show in its time, but I'm sure it's unrepeatable these days, much of what Lee Sullivan says, as it featured impersonations of various now disgraced TV presenters.
Oh dear. Shall we? This is dangerous territory. Can we
About
abort?
whom we shall say no more.
Thank goodness.
Says
Okay.
Mark. Your comment about Anderson shows appearing in other Anderson shows, oh yes, that's a previous Fab Fact.
It was.
Made me realise that, of course, in musical terms, it happened constantly. I've just been watching the Space 1999 episode Missing Link and recognised some incidental music from somewhere but couldn't place it. I looked it up and found it was actually from one of my all-time favourites, the Stingray episode Ghost of the Sea. You asked a few weeks back if there was anything we'd like to see on the YouTube channel, and I'd love to see film, if it exists, from the Thunderbirds FAB stage show. I remember it well. At the time, I foolishly dismissed it as something that was just mocking Thunderbirds, and thought I didn't want to see my favourite show laughed at. I now realise what an affectionate tribute it was, and I'm annoyed I passed on the chance to see it. Thanks as ever for my weekly fix of and goodness, now of course in living vidicolour.
Oh, that's what we are now. Yes.
Mark Perkins.
Gosh, yeah. No, the reuse of music. I mean,
Yeah.
Barry Gray just being very sensible
Why
with
wouldn't you?
budgets and
Right.
he had a very obvious style that fitted between shows, even though the shows are very different. And
Yeah.
it's quite cool to see the different effect of a
Yeah.
piece of music from Stingray being used in Space 1999. As for the Thunderbirds FAB stage show,
Yeah.
now we've got some really rubbish video recording,
Yes.
and Ross has done some videos in the past on the YouTube channel about the stage show, so you can see some clips there.
And we had an interview with Gavin Robertson on a previous podcast. Or
Yes,
two.
indeed. And we're going to try next year to get Andy Dawson and maybe Gavin together.
Great.
Because it's the 40th anniversary of the stage show, isn't it?
Can't be. It
Of
must
the
be,
original
yes.
run, not the
Yeah,
version
yeah.
you were in.
Sure, but
that
yes,
was
it must
a mere 30-something years ago. Oh dear. So yeah, we hope to have them, and I believe that somewhere a proper film recording of this does exist.
Ah.
So there is a possibility of it, and I am in conversations with someone who might be able to access it. So never say never. In fact, maybe say possibly.
Well, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I'd love to see that. Hi, Jamie and Richard, says Peter. I hope you're both well. I'm a little bankrupt, having had my daughter here from Sydney for 5 weeks, but still feeling rich with all the Gerry Anderson stuff that's going on.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Peter Littman, of course. This is Jamie. I was just wondering, apart from Thunderbirds, was your dad ever actually as huge a fan as we all are of any of his other TV series?
No.
I remember back in the 1980s being lucky enough to talk to him over the phone a year after I'd met him, only a few months after you were born, actually.
Gosh.
I told him how much I was enjoying the reruns of Fireball XL5 on ITV, and hopefully how much he was looking forward to the Gerry Anderson podcast.
He must have known at that point, surely.
But Gerry said that while he was very pleased to hear that, he actually couldn't watch it. I also read he wasn't overly impressed with Terrahawks either. I always consider myself very fortunate to have told him in person how much all of his shows mean to so many millions of us, but it would be nice to know if he was proud of them, as we are of him. Keep up the fantastic work, you lot. SIG Peter.
Cheers, Peter. What a lovely message,
Yeah,
as
isn't it?
always, from Peter Littman.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. No, as I leapt in there, no, he wasn't happy with any of the shows. It always, could see just the faults, really.
What did he think of the fact that everyone else seemed to love them?
Didn't get it.
Did he think we were all mad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally mad.
Strange,
So
isn't
sorry, Peter. I mean, you're a lovely man, but
You're completely mad.
well, in Dad's
nice
eyes,
way.
he would have been, yeah.
course,
No,
yeah.
he just wasn't nostalgic. He didn't get looking back fondly on things. He just saw all the faults and wanted to move on to the next thing and not make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, there we are. There's your answer, Peter. And we've got plenty more answers if only you send in the questions to podcast@gerryanderson.com, and we shall read them out in next week's Voice of the Podsterons.
Looking forward to it already.
Yeah, very good. I tell you what else I'm looking forward to.
Yes?
The first part of my interview with the wonderful Ayshea Brough.
Of course you are.
Are you ready for this?
I can't wait.
It's like having Gerry Anderson royalty in the room with us, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you've
No.
you've already got some.
All right. Yeah, okay.
No, but proper. She's authentic royalty.
This week we have a special guest all the way from a secret base beneath Harlington Straker Studios. She's an accomplished singer, actress, voice artist and presenter. But she's best known to us for her appearances in UFO. It's Ayshea Brough! Well, what a treat to have you on the Gerry Anderson podcast, Ayshea.
It's a treat to be here.
Welcome to Slough.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking a rather extended journey to get here
That's all right.
in
That's
the
all
pouring rain.
right. I know, but it's fun. It's fun to meet everyone.
Now,
It's good.
talking of journeys, born in Highgate,
Yes.
you've lived in Hollywood,
Yes.
now back in the UK.
Yes.
What do you say the main differences of life between Hollywood and
very,
back in
very different. Well,
Lincolnshire, I
I'm a
think?
city girl.
Yeah.
So the difference between Beverly Hills, where I lived, and London is that people think that Beverly Hills will be like London. It isn't. It's far more village-like. It's quite small. People know each other. It's very much an industry town, and it's quite quiet after about 8 o'clock.
Really?
Yes, because everybody's up at 5:30 to be on the studio floor.
Amazing.
So yes, there are parties and there are functions, but it's an early town. It's
Yeah.
not New York. And the main difference, the weather. The weather is phenomenal. It's 10 months of the year that it's absolute bliss. And you can sit out till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But it's not home.
Yeah,
And it's
sure.
not London and England, for me, have an energy that is, you can't compare it.
Yeah,
It's the best.
I'm sure. You've had such a long and varied career. It's been astonishing looking up your experiences in TV and film and theatre and music particularly as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to start by testing your Gerry Anderson knowledge.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you some very, very brief clips from pretty much all of Gerry Anderson's series, the opening credits. And I'd
okay.
like you to shout out
What the
anyone
series is.
exactly that you happen to recognise. Are you ready?
Goodness.
Off we
Okay.
go. Here we go. Very early days, that one.
I'll guess.
Yes.
Tintin.
Oh, okay. Well, it was close, but wrong.
Wrong. Oh, I don't know.
Into the
Fireball
60s.
XL5.
Oh, we're getting close.
Stingray.
Fireball XL5 here. And now, Stingray.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Fantastic.
Thunderbirds.
Got it. Very quick. Captain Scarlet there.
Captain Scarlet.
Now, coming up, Ayshea, is one you might well recognise.
Oh, UFO.
Of course. Followed by... They're coming at you thick and fast.
This is an emergency.
Now we're into the 80s. And some lesser-known series.
I don't know it.
Almost at the end now.
Place of legend. Fabled right
That's pretty.
across the universe.
Isn't it? And finally...
No idea.
Well done. Ayshea, that's not bad at all. You got a resounding 3.
Oh,
No, that's
dear,
all right.
That's awful.
That's absolutely fine. I'm going to give you a little mark here for 3. That game was
dear.
called Super Identification. I would say you passed, well, not exactly flying colours,
Oh, dear.
but that's not bad going. If you were to come again, you'd get more right
I did
next
go
time.
to live abroad in the 80s.
Well, exactly.
So that's not really fair.
That's right. No, that's right. But you did, you recognised Thunderbirds there.
Oh, yes.
You
Captain Scarlet.
Stingray.
Stingray.
That's it, exactly. Fireball XL5, but not quite in the right order.
No.
But that's forgivable. No. We know you, of course, from many things, but from our point of view, from UFO.
Yeah.
Now, how aware of Gerry and Sylvia's previous work were you when you were given that role?
Well, I knew obviously the series that I recognised this time.
Yeah.
I'd seen those. My introduction to Sylvia was very funny. I had some photographs done
Yeah.
at Holland Park in London
Yes.
with a very small statue.
Okay.
But most of the statues are about 6 or 7 feet tall. So I was stood next to this statue and looked a similar size. And Gerry and Sylvia wanted to have rather tall, Amazonian and different looking girls for UFO.
Yeah.
So they called me in. Well, I'm 5'3". I'm not exactly Amazonian. And I remember walking in and things were starting to go pretty well for me. I just got my own series, Lift Off with Ayshea.
Yes.
And I walked in and I thought they'd be pleased to see me. And they said, "You're very small." And I went, "Well, not really. I'm like average. What are you looking for? Like giants?" And they were very sweet. Anyway,
They cast you?
Yes, it was Rose Tobias-Shaw and it was Sylvia Anderson. And when I went to do the screen test, the clothes were like full length on me.
Oh, yeah.
They
right.
were really long, so I had to
Brilliant.
hoik them up. And anyway, so that's how when I first met them. That was their
Fantastic.
opening line was, "You're very small."
Very small.
Yeah.
But very small perhaps, but a very big talent, may I say.
Oh.
Now, let's take you back then to your childhood in Highgate.
Yes.
What was that like? Tell us what
I
family
was
life was like.
born on Highgate Hill, about 20 houses from the Dick Whittington Stone.
Yeah.
My mother and father moved to Paris for a while. My father was into racing horses. My parents, unfortunately, divorced. So my mother came back. And from Highgate, we moved to the centre of London.
Yeah.
And I then went to the Arts Educational School.
In the 50s, 60s?
In
are we
the
talking about?
the beginning of the, let me see, in the end of the 50s, 60s.
So London was just starting to
Oh,
swing,
it
as
was.
they say.
I had the best teenage years ever because it was the swinging 60s.
Yeah.
I can remember walking down Carnaby Street. Everybody was dressed to the nines and seeing Sonny and Cher just come down the street and the birds with the glasses. And a lot of people won't even know who the birds are. It was just a wonderful time. The clothing. This was the era for the first time that teenagers had their own fashion, not a smaller version of their parents' clothes.
Right.
It was our clothes. It was our music. It was a wonderful time.
And was that also reflected in your ideas and the way you saw the world? Were you determined not to see the world like your parents?
No, I don't think I didn't want to see it. I think that that my generation, we didn't even think to repeat. Whereas my parents probably thought, I will do this because my parents did. We were the first generation that also our parents didn't insist that we were replicas of them.
Yes.
We had a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, my father was a stickler. He expected me to study and to either go to medical school or law school. That was what my destiny was to
I
be.
see.
My mother was much more progressive, sent me to a ballet school and theatrical training school and said, do whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah. And how did you find that spark? How did you decide what you wanted
I
to do?
think because I was led to it, but going to a ballet school, a vocational school, so you're studying music, and so it's sort of, I didn't really make the choice until about, I'd say, 10 or 12.
Right.
And I started seeing musicals, and I was really into pop music. I became a pop singer because of the Beatles. All I wanted to do was to meet Paul McCartney.
And did you ever?
Yes, I did. But but that's the career I chose.
Yeah.
My father, on the other hand, could not understand why I wanted to be a pop singer.
Was there a tension or a friction there, or was he able to let you?
Well, because my parents were divorced. My mother basically had the last word because I was at home with her.
Yeah.
But I said to him, look, I'm going to do this. If I don't do well in the next 2 or 3 years, then I will go to law school.
So you went to arts educational school in London.
Yeah, and then I left and I did a short time at RADA, their professional classes. I didn't do the whole course, but I landed a record deal.
Yes.
And I also got work.
Yes, which
so
we'll
I never stopped.
come to, absolutely. Whilst you were at arts ed, though, I'm guessing drama, ballet, music wouldn't leave a lot of time for anything else. Did you have any other interests beyond that at the time, or were you sort of almost fixated on the entertainment and the arts industry?
I don't think I knew anything else.
Yeah.
It was all about. The school was very much based, they were still doing musical comedy, but they started to progress because a lot of girls from my school ended up in Pan's People and instead of going on to do musicals, started going on to do the Kenny Everett Show and Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
So it was music and it was theatre that were my driving force. I've always been insane about fashion and about interiors. So anything in the art world,
Right,
really.
yeah.
Not very science-based.
Okay, so where did that come from? I mean, was there any link in your family to these sort of more artistic?
Well, my father, I'm told, I don't know, it was before I was born, owned a lace factory in Nottingham, but I don't think it was anything to do with him understanding lace. I think it was just a business. But I was the youngest person ever to design a collection for a public company. I was only 17.
Right, amazing.
And I designed a collection for, it was then called Alice Edwards.
Yeah.
And it was in black and white. And it was all the things that I would wear.
Yes.
And it was sort of to tie in with my first record.
I see. I asked you to send me some details about your first Gerry Anderson memory, not from UFO, but we're going back even further because you picked this rather interesting little series.
God.
Steve, it's beautiful down here.
Yeah, but we're no nearer to finding the survivors. Poor guys, they must have given up hope by now.
Steve, the creature.
He's trying his heat ray on the hull. Let's get out of here.
I loved it.
We've shaken him off, Steve, but he can sure swim fast.
See, that rock face ahead, it's opening. An underwater cave. I guess we haven't much choice but to go in, Venus.
To be continued. 5-ball XL5.
Loved it.
Did you?
Loved it.
Do you remember what you loved about it specifically? Do you remember watching certain
I
episodes?
don't know. I thought it was thrilling at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, if you think back, Doctor Who round about that time. You
Yeah,
know, Daleks
that's
were
right.
a little bit and very rubbery.
Yes.
This was pretty good.
Yes, you're right. Around about the same time. This was 62, Doctor Who in 63. Were you watching this as a family, or was this a guilty sort of personal
No, this was
pleasure?
me. This was me.
Right.
This was me.
And what else were you watching at around the same time? How did it compare to other things
I
you
was
may
watching
have seen?
Oh Boy.
Right, okay. Which is a pop show, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, done by Jack Good.
Yes.
Who years later I met.
Uh-huh.
And the resident band on there was Harry Robinson, and he produced my first record.
Right.
It's such a small world. You know, back in the 60s and 70s, the music industry was so much smaller that you met people and then it would come full circle. You would end up knowing them, and it's how interlaced it was extraordinary. Now it's vast, it's corporative, it's not the same.
Do you get the feeling that you were sort of like a leaf on the wind being blown to one opportunity to the next, or were you able to take control of that in the early years to some degree?
I don't think I felt I was blown. I just thought I was on a journey. I was just really enjoying putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
I had no idea. All I thought was, I love to sing. I want to be a pop singer so I can meet Paul McCartney. And I knew I was professional because I'd been trained.
Yeah.
So I was fine at doing that. But other than that, it was just fun.
Yeah.
It was just having a good time. I was lucky. I didn't have the pressures that I had to go and earn my living. I was still living with my parents. So
Yeah.
that made it a lot easier.
In London, of course, at the heart of it
Yes,
all. Really,
yeah,
where-
yeah. I could walk anywhere.
Yeah.
I was living 2 minutes from Marble Arch.
Yeah,
So
that's right. And in your wildest dreams, where might it lead? At that point, let's think of you 10, 11, 12. Did you have any impression where you might want it to end? Or
I
end
thought
up?
I would end up. I would be on like the Oh Boy. I
Okay.
would, yes, I would sing next to Cliff Richard.
Okay.
Because Helen Shapiro was a singer. And she was 13. She was a
Yes.
bit older than me. But I
Right.
thought I can do it by the time I'm 13.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, the great thing about doing these videos is that we're able to ask our viewers and listeners also on audio to send in some questions
Oh,
for our
good.
guests. So I'm sorry, it's a Space 1999
Yeah,
lunchbox.
yeah.
Sorry about
Okay.
that. Must try harder. Would you like me to read out some questions from our viewers and listeners?
I'd
for
love
you?
to.
Okay, let's see what we have here. Got a few for you, as you can imagine. Alex Pass says
Okay.
UFO has been enjoying recent repeat broadcasts in the UK.
Yeah.
Have you been tempted to take a look?
I have. I was flicking through.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a program on UFOs. I did, so I thought,
Yeah.
I've got to have a look at this because
Yeah.
I kind of like that
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
And there I was standing there. I went, oh, I don't believe this. So
Now,
I did. I
when-
watched for a few minutes.
When was the moment you recognised it wasn't a program about you? Was it
when I walked through the doors and talked to Ed Straker and thought, wait a minute,
How do you think it bears up? You know, we're talking over 50 years ago. now.
really well. 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Gone with the Wind,
Sure.
you know, which really isn't going to date.
Yeah.
We were doing something that is so contemporary
Yeah.
that is hard to last. But there is something about it. I think it's the look. I just think there's a look about it.
Yes, and of course, the idea of the show was it was the past's idea of what the future would look like, if you like. It was
I
set in
know.
1980.
I know.
When you
That's
filmed
what we
it.
were going to. They thought we were going to wear those
Are you
clothes.
slightly disappointed that hasn't actually happened?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to walk around in a cat suit at Tesco's. You know, it's a bit. It was bad enough that Gerry Anderson always shot me from behind.
Yes.
I don't really want to do that.
How did you feel
now.
about that?
I really had no idea
Yeah.
what he was doing.
Yeah.
But they all laughed when I said, "How can you see me? You're behind me."
Oh,
He
well.
said, "Don't worry, I got the best shot."
Great. Tabitha Hoop says, when you were making UFO, did you have any idea that around 50 years later, people would still love and watch it?
No. It's the biggest surprise of my entire career. It's something that I did that I thought at the time was very enjoyable. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever talk about it. 50 years later.
Yes, and the remarkable thing is, of course, when you made it, there was no such thing as DVDs or Blu-ray or downloading. So it was ephemeral. It was made, people watched it.
Yeah, watched it, and that was
went.
it.
So you could.
I think they could have videoed it, couldn't they?
Oh, yes, maybe yes.
We had
Those that were fortunate
videos.
enough to have very big videos in.
Yeah, I remember
1969.
the
That's
big
it.
thing we had. And then they had Betamax or something,
Yeah,
whatever it was.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So you say it surprised you that it has such longevity. Are you happy being remembered for it, or would you rather have been remembered for all the many other strings to your bow?
It's fine. I don't mind. I mean, I did not exactly do groundbreaking work in UFO, but that's what I was there for.
Yeah.
I did what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
Not at all. If anyone remembers you and likes you 50 years later, kiss their hand. Absolutely.
Yeah, lovely. Very nice. Okay, we'll have one final one here and then we'll move on. This is from Jonathan Westall.
Okay.
Who says, is there a character from any Gerry Anderson series that you would have liked to have played and why? How well do you know your Gerry Anderson series? Would you like to have been a voice actor for the likes of Fireball XL5, for example?
Well, kind of like to be... I wouldn't have minded being... funnily enough, within UFO, I would love to have done Gabriella Drake's job. Because I loved the costume for the moon, and they got to fight and do things.
Right.
I was a bit wooden. You know, she got to do stuff.
Yeah. Did you guys kind of mix together as you were filming?
I only went on the moon one time.
Right.
And I did get a fight scene. I did get to do it.
So ordinarily, would you pass in the corridors or makeup runs? Or?
We never... shadow was done. We shot all the shadow things. I never saw the girls at all when they were on the moon. They did a different... And same with Georgina Moon when she was on the submarine. I didn't see her.
Ah, I see. Let's go... back in time again because I've unearthed a little clip of something from 1958. Let's take a look at this.
It's a little girl.
For a guy your size, plenty of dangers. Imagine what it's like to fly way up in the sky on a toy balloon. Imagine anything. It can all come true. A milestone in movie imagination. The littlest guy in the world in the biggest adventures of all time.
Tom Thumb.
Oh, yeah, just about over to the right in a slightly different scene. But at that time, that's what I did. I was a little girl.
Great.
Yeah.
1958, so you would have been, if you don't mind me asking?
I would have been 11.
11 years old. I guess this came through Arts Educational?
Yeah.
So how did you have to audition for that, or...?
No, I think that they came to the school and they would sometimes, with us youngsters then, they would just come into the classes while we were dancing or whatever.
Right.
And they'd bring in producers, they stand at the back of the room and they would say, we'd like to have that girl or whatever. I was the only one that went there for that. So they
really?
Yes, I was on my own. And I can remember going into the to the ladies, and it was the first film that I'd ever been in, and taking the paper cups because it had the studio stamped on it, and I kept them for years.
So where was it shot?
I think it was I'm not sure if it was at Pinewood or MGM.
Okay, but a Hollywood movie to all intents and purposes. That's right. Do you remember being impressed with the scale of the thing? Or
Yeah, it was
I know
beautiful.
it's a long time ago, I know.
No, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. But you see, I've been very, very lucky. I've done some things. Doing UFO was shot like a movie.
Yes.
It was beautifully done. It wasn't, just a camera and a bit of a rough studio where a lot of the music stuff is done. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And the likes of Terry Thomas and Peter Sellers.
Yeah. Well, because I lived in the centre of London, every Sunday I used to go riding, and we would ride round Hyde Park on a thing called Rotten Row. It's got sand that goes all around.
Yeah.
And Terry Thomas, the first time I ever met him, his horse charged past me when I was about 8 and threw my teacher and threw me off my horse.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't get to talk to him in the movie, but I wanted to go up and say to him, you knocked me off my horse a few years ago.
But how much a part of that film did you feel? I can imagine as a very young girl, you were chaperoned, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you feel, how long did you work on that? Was it a few days? Or
About 3 days.
But your first movie credit, really.
Yeah. Got to talk to all of them. And I met some people that years later, when I was working, I would do TV and I would meet them, and they would look at me and they would go, and I would go, yes, when I was a little girl.
Amazing. Isn't that incredible?
There were some really nice actors in there.
Yeah.
I never worked with Russ Tamlin, who was wonderful, because that was done mainly in the States, and that it wasn't done so much.
Yeah.
I didn't see. I mean, he shot stuff here, but I didn't see him.
Yeah. There's a really lovely line over that trailer, which I think is really quite appropriate. Imagine anything, it can all come true.
I know.
And that seems really appropriate for your career, because it seems you did have the confidence to imagine what your life might be like.
Yeah, I mean, I look back and I go, there were many things that I could have done that I didn't do, because I chose personally, I wanted to have a home life as well as a working career, because without being very sad, but a lot of quite successful women do not have very successful home lives, because it takes you away, and it's very hard to run a family and a relationship as well. So for me, I mean, I was only like 31, 32 when I said, I have to stop this for a period of time and devote myself 100% to, making a home life.
Right. So did you feel you were sort of on a treadmill in some degree?
No, I loved it and I was happy. But I saw so many women in their 30s and late 30s that hadn't had children, or their relationships had failed within my business. And it can lend itself to being too much about you. If you talk about the music and the talent and what you can do, that is wonderful, and that is a gift from heaven, and you should pursue that and take care of it. But there is also the fact that we are here to live a life. And it cannot be all about whether you got that job, whether somebody thinks you're special.
So life isn't just a CV, is it?
No,
it's more to that.
no.
Yeah, so there's also a film I really tried to look into called 9 Hours
to Rama. Yes.
Tell me about that.
When Gandhi was assassinated, the man that shot him hid at a very wealthy wedding. And I played the bride. It was my wedding that he came into, and that was it. And the young man who played my husband was actually studying at the London School of Economics.
Okay.
And so that was it. I auditioned for it, and Valerie Gueron was the star. She married the director, who later married, and I can't think of her name now, a blonde actress who died in her 50s. It'll come to me later.
I'll try and remind you later.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So following that, 1963, you signed your first recording contract with Philips Fontana, I think?
Yep.
And your first single, Eeny Meeny, was released in 1965.
Yeah.
And you were just 16.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'd love to play some of the music, but I'm a bit concerned about copyright breaches. I'll look into it and see what we
if
can
you
get
can.
away with.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff on YouTube.
Yes, that's right.
You're not missing anything with Eeny Meeny. It's an extraordinary name, isn't it, Eeny Meeny?
Yes.
It just sums up the record. It's not great.
But a success for you.
Well, it was a success in the sense that they signed me up for another year or so.
And what did that entail? Were you now sort of a full-time professional pop singer?
I was from the minute I left school. I got the record deal by making a tape in the bathroom so that I'd get a bit of echo.
Classic.
And there were tiles, and I just sang a song with no accompaniment, and I sent it to a record label. I told you I was desperate to become a pop singer.
Yeah.
Now, if you did that now, it would never make its way.
No one would ever see it.
No one would ever see it.
Yeah.
But it got to an A&R man, and he sent for me and said, I'm really surprised because you've got a really deep, big voice. So I thought you were going to be a woman, and sort of far cooler than you are. I came in like white socks and my uniform, It was a little bit like, who is she? And so they signed me, and so it went on. Then I got moved to CBS and different labels. But
what was life like as a 16-year-old in the music business?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was nothing but parties.
Really?
Well, all the magazines were out, like FAB magazine and Jackie.
Yeah.
So once or twice a week, you would go to the magazines. You get dressed up, and they'd have all the young pop singers, and the people, the it girls of the day, and they take photos of you in Bieber clothes.
Wow.
And you had photo. I remember the first photo shoot I think I did for Jackie was with Status Quo.
Amazing.
And so you do the photos, and then later on they might do a little party or something at an ice rink.
Yeah.
And then you do some photos there.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time you go down Carnaby Street 3 times a week, meet everyone, go to Denmark Street,
Yes.
sit there and talk to everyone about what songs there were. There was David Bowie there and Mark Bolan, who were desperate to get a record
How
deal.
extraordinary. So, I mean, it was a full-time job. I mean, that's what being a pop star is, I guess.
Oh, yeah, and you got dressed up all the time. You always had to look nice, and you had
Yes.
photos taken.
And were you being moulded? Was there a...
Well, yeah, I'd had a lot of training because most pop singers went in and they came straight from just regular life. I'd already been at a stage school since I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So there were certain things doing all the PR stuff, but what really made a change was my agency were really smart and they put me with Jimmy Cliff.
Right.
And so I went out on the road with a pop band,
Wow.
with a brass section, with Jimmy Cliff, and I sang on the road for like 18 months.
Can you remember some of the venues you must have played up
Oh,
and down
God,
the
yeah.
UK?
The Manor House, Bromley, Kent.
Yeah.
There was one there. Everybody played the same circuit.
Yeah.
Georgie Fame, Zoot Money, The Who,
Yeah.
Moody Blues, Yardbirds.
Yeah.
All of them. We all played the same. I appeared at the Marquee every Thursday.
Right.
There was Long John Baldry, Rod Stewart.
Amazing.
I belonged to the same agency as Rod Stewart.
I see. And was there any kind of self-doubt at any... Did you ever look around and think, I don't belong here? Or did you absolutely feel at home there?
No, I just loved it. I thought
Yeah.
a lot of people were a lot better than me, but I just had a great time. But they seemed to like me.
Yeah. You seem remarkably to straddle acting and singing as well. Is that an easy bridge, or...?
Now, I think it's absolutely accepted and nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah.
And they think it's perfectly normal. When I was doing it, it was really rare for singers to step over into acting. Actors might deign to sing,
Yes.
and they weren't usually very good,
Yes.
and they didn't become pop singers. But it didn't work the other way. And then models had a fight to get out of modelling into acting.
Yeah.
For me, because I started in the pop world, but I had already, because I had been to a stage school, I'd already done different work. So the pop industry found it very easy to place me. They would put me straight away into light entertainment shows.
Right.
They would put me into pantomimes
Yeah.
because they knew that I could work and do. So I got to do it all,
Yeah.
which I loved.
Yeah, lucky you, absolutely. Just another couple of questions from our viewers. And then we'll play a final game, I think, before we say goodbye
Oh,
for
God,
this
I
week.
haven't been good at those.
Ian Stevens says, are you aware that the shows are still popular today, and does it surprise you? And also on a personal note, UFO has been so helpful getting me through the personal issues I've had by giving me a much-needed break from reality. Is that a common thing you get from fans of the shows, that it's helped
When I
them?
meet them at conventions, yes. Because there's a whole I was very surprised when I went to some of the UFO conventions that there's a new generation. They're about 30 years old to 35.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I thought they would all be people who were either my contemporaries or little children that
Yeah.
the parents were showing to.
Yeah.
I think these sci-fi shows and anything that is out of the norm is a great comfort for people who are going through insecure periods
Yeah.
or just difficult emotional periods. Because if you keep watching The Perfect Family and The Perfect Relationship, it's just going to make you feel worse.
Yes, true.
Because you're saying, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
But, if you're taken out of yourself and possibility
Yes.
is placed in front of you,
Yes.
that maybe that's some relief for a short amount of time. And I've had people come up and say, I was very shy, but I made myself come here today
Yeah.
to talk to you.
Right.
And so for me, as nuts as I am, and as impatient as I can be, I'm at my best, and I'm at the best girl that I can be when I'm at conventions.
Yeah.
Because I'm really interested in what they have to say. Because for me, I enjoy meeting people. And if somebody is going to come and dare to say to you, you know, I'm really shy or I'm scared of meeting people, if you can be present and be there for them, it's kind of something good.
Yes, it's something of a responsibility, isn't it? Do you think it comes with the job?
I think it's a privilege. I do think it comes with the job, and I think it's outrageous if people are impatient and I'm not being goody-goody, but how dare you? You know, people spend their last penny on things that provide you with, I've had a great life. Yeah. I really have.
Yeah.
No, I think it's not only a duty and a responsibility, but I think it's a privilege.
Lovely. One last question from our viewers. John Jackson. I met and chatted to Ed Bishop, says John.
Oh, yeah?
More than once, and found him very reserved and quiet.
Yeah.
Did he ever joke about on set, or was he always as serious as I remember him? Oh, and who did you like meeting the most on Liftoff with Ayshea? So how did you find Ed Bishop? Who did you enjoy most on Liftoff?
Ed was serious.
Yeah.
He was an actor.
Yeah.
He was very much into his craft. He had a sense of humour. Because he was so shy, he didn't really say things, but he laughed. And I can remember I was getting married during the shooting of the series. And so what they did was at the end of the day, you know, you get a call sheet for the next day.
Yeah.
So I'd asked permission because I'd got 300 people. I was getting married the next day.
Yes.
And Sylvia and Gerry very kindly sent me telegrams, and they were all being very sweet. And so it was the last day, and then the next day I was actually getting married. So I was shooting a scene, and then they handed me the call sheet, and my call was for the next day for 7:00, and I was like, I was running around trying to find the floor manager and say, you know, I can't come tomorrow, but I've asked permission and everything. I've got 300 people going to a church. I can't be there. And so they were all turning their backs because they'd done this as a setup. And so I couldn't find anyone.
I see.
And then we're shooting the last scene, and Ed would always, the most he would ever say to me is, I don't know, Lieutenant, is there a red alert or something? There wasn't that much. And this scene, I had to go across and say something to him. Here you are, Commander, something or other. And so I walked up, and he took the file that was in my hand and threw it to the floor, grabbed hold of me and kissed me full on the lips and dipped me. And I thought, oh my God, he's gone insane. And they were filming. I thought, the man's gone completely insane.
Okay.
I better not say anything. So I just carried on and said, okay, Commander, and walked off, and they all collapsed laughing. So he did have a sense of humour.
And that's on film somewhere, you say?
Yes.
I wonder if we could find that. How wonderful. That's very nice. Well, now, just before we end, I'm going to play a little game with you called Quickfire 5.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions that require an either-or answer. And you need to answer as quickly as possible. There's no right answer, okay? It's just a bit of fun. So,
no
for
right
example,
answer?
No right or no wrong answer. You'll see. So you can do only one of these: singing, presenting, or acting.
Singing.
Or choose a uniform from UFO: silver miniskirt and purple wig, or your own one-piece jumpsuit.
Moonsuit.
Really?
Yes.
What does Ayshea think? Have we really been visited by beings from another planet? Yes or no?
I think so.
Tell us now, Ed Bishop or George Sewell?
Ed Bishop.
Now, the Spectrum agents in Captain Scarlet were named after colours, so choose your own colour from the Dulux paint range and join them. Are you Captain Chic Shadow or Lieutenant Melon Sorbet?
Oh, God. Melon sorbet.
Lovely. It suits you. That's your Quickfire 5. You see, quite painless. Well done. That's all for this week. I hope you'll come back and join us next week, Ayshea.
I will.
Because I'd love to talk to you more about your acting career and also your amazing career in music as well.
Thank
But
you.
in the meantime, is there anywhere our listeners and viewers can find you online? Do you do any socials at all?
I'm not, and I don't really, because there was a time that I had family stuff to do, so I didn't have the time. I may start trying to do that.
You have a website?
I have a website. They can leave me messages.
Yeah.
I do read them all.
Yeah.
though I'm not a chatter, but I do read them all. They can always come and see me at any convention, and I love to meet them. And also, there's loads of stuff on YouTube.
Great. Lovely. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I
You
look
too.
forward to seeing you again next week. But for
All right.
now, that's Ayshea Brough, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Well,
She's fun, isn't she? She's a right laugh, is Ayshea.
she a right laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it quite touching, actually, to talk to actors in previous Gerry Anderson stories and series because, you know, I've sort of been there myself.
Yeah.
Really.
You all share an experience
Yeah,
there,
it's
even though
nice.
it was many, many years apart.
Many, many years apart, and I was much, much younger.
Well, everybody was then.
Yeah,
So
that's true. It's what time does, isn't it? It's funny that. Anyway, you can see the second part of my interview with Ayshea Brough next week, where we'll be exploring more about her Anderson memories, talking about her time on UFO, and exploring more of her musical past.
and present?
Well, we'll see.
I can't wait.
Great. In the meantime, I wonder if you're on Facebook. Not you, them.
not.
And if you are, I wonder if you're part of the Gerry Anderson Podcast Official Listeners Facebook group. Not you, them.
All right.
And if you are, I wonder if you've posted anything recently. And if you have, I wonder if I'm about to read out your message.
Could it be mine?
No, not you. Now, Louise Everson, who we know,
Yes. Lovely Louise on our team.
yes, says, is your preference UFO or Space 1999, or do you love both? Which is quite an apt question to pose.
Particularly
Yes,
at the moment.
as we've had Ayshea Brough with us, and I have to say, in a few weeks' time, we've got the wonderful Anton Phillips joining us from Space 1999.
Amazing guests here on the podcast.
Well, John Puntney says UFO without a doubt. Landau is great in 1999, but Ed Bishop made UFO spectacular. Fair enough.
I have noticed a bit of a split, actually, more
Yeah.
than I thought between UFO and 1999.
Yes. Doug Morris says, well, it's UFO for me. Yes, it's a series about aliens, but it's the adult themes and human characteristics that win every time. Is UFO considered a more adult series than Space 1999?
Yes. Well, I mean, they both had kind of more adult themes, but Space 1999 was kind of horror, philosophical, more thoughtful and a
Yes.
little bit ponderous.
Yes.
UFO, I mean, it could be viewed as horror in many ways, but also very human with Straker's marriage issues and drug use. Not Straker's, well, sometimes Straker's drug use, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Gary Hodgkinson says, I loved UFO when it was first on in the early 70s, but for me, Space 1999 Series 1 had the edge over it. But I have to say, I'm still a fan of both. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, it can be both.
Tab of the Hoop. UFO at this point in time, granted the show puts most of its plots down to the Shadow Interceptor's 2% mission success rate. However, I'm finding it much more interesting than what I've seen of 1999. It doesn't, from what I recall, have purple eyeliner in the male uniform either, which is truly a shame. Space 1999.
Yeah, a bit of a letdown there, isn't it?
And finally on this, well, Tony Friedman sort of sums it up nicely. Love them both equally. Two completely different shows, leagues apart both stylistically and thematically, arguably appealing to completely different audiences. It's like comparing James Bond with 2001 A Space Odyssey. Super grateful to have both amazing shows in my life.
Well, we can all accept that as the answer.
Yes, exactly.
Well done, Tony.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? And there's an interesting one there for you, I think, from Dom Riley. Who posted
so
a
there
link.
is.
Yeah.
Dom Riley, who says, I think we all know what this means.
What's that then?
Well, he says, scientists say an alien spaceship crash landing onto Mars can't be ruled out as the cause of strange, spiky protrusions found on the planet.
I've had those.
Quick, somebody call Mulder and Scully. In April, NASA's Curiosity rover photographed what appears to be a row of spikes, plates, and wedges protruding from rocks on the bottom of the 154-kilometre-long Gale crater.
Wow.
I'm not familiar with this crater.
No.
Astrobiologist Dr. Natalie Cabral?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cabral?
Cabral,
who
Cabral,
knows?
of the NASA Ames Research Center and the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, that's SETI,
Thanks.
Institute, has been studying Mars for over 20 years and says this is the most bizarre rock she's ever encountered. Okay. A new paper published in the Journal of Astrobiology concludes that the formations might be sand spikes. Researchers also say a fragment from an extraterrestrial or terrestrial spacecraft cannot be discounted with absolute certainty.
Well, hedging their bets a bit there.
Yeah. Well, Andrew Wagstaff has a comment to make on that.
And what's that?
Everyone knows
Yeah.
the chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1. That's what he said.
Which is a quote from
Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds.
Done. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
yeah.
almost sang it when I saw that, but nobody
funny,
needs
isn't it?
that in their life.
That's great. I love those stories. It could almost be a Gerry Anderson series. That's
Almost.
nice, isn't it? A crash landing on Mars.
Yeah.
Where could that lead?
Well, to some sand spikes, allegedly.
Yeah, it's a shame. Anyway, yes, so if you're on Facebook, why not pop over and join in the group? There's some questions to answer, and then we'll let you in, and you can post pictures of your cosplay and your merch and your models and just your thoughts in general. And it's a very supportive group, so,
It's a lovely group.
join in the fun.
Everyone's very happy and friendly there, so enjoy.
Talking of happy and friendly,
Yes.
I don't know a happier or friendlier person than Chris Dale.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Sonny the dog from Bray Studios.
No, neither. Probably quite happy.
Yeah.
But if you're an Einstein, not that friendly.
Not friendly. Fair enough.
No. But shall we pop over to the sofa and see how Chris is getting on with his special guest, who may or may not be able to press the button for him on the randomiser?
I think so. Let's see if Chris has got Einstein in his mouth. No,
Right.
he probably won't.
Probably won't.
Behave, Chris.
Come and join us on Jeff Tracy's sofa here.
Okie doke.
Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm sure you've heard of this randomiser prop here.
I have.
Yes, it's very famous, isn't it? Yes,
It
and
is.
here we have every Gerry Anderson episode ever made. You're going to press a button, doesn't matter which one, whichever one takes your fancy.
Okay.
It'll produce an episode for me to watch and give a commentary on. So, would you like to do the honours? Press the button right now.
Okay.
Here we go. Ooh, thank you very much. And you may be interested to know that you are the first actor from an Anderson show to press the button on this device here. So it's quite an honour. I'm sure you're very honoured by that. And we have today's episode, which is The Protectors, and it is Your Witness, guest starring Stephanie Beacham, if I remember rightly. Yes. So, would you be willing to come back next week and do the same again, but hopefully produce a different episode?
Okay, I can do that.
I'll see you then. Right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. So we're welcoming back to the randomiser very soon after we last saw it, I feel, The Protectors. But this is season 1 as opposed to last time, which was that season 1 as well? I don't even remember. Oh, I remember that guy though. Oh dear. He is, if you remember, way back in somewhere in the late 90s on the randomiser, 97, 98, we had the infamous Protectors episode, It Can Be Practically Anywhere on the Island, which I maintain is the worst Anderson episode of all time. Part of the reason for that was the performance of the guest actor, Sherwood Price, Robert Vaughan's business partner at the time, who also played, in a couple of other episodes, an American protector named Carter. That was Carter there, as all the protectors are gathered in this airport, watching Stephanie Beacham arrive.
Main passenger lounge.
Oh, yes. Where is this? This is probably somewhere really obvious, and I've waffled all over it. Anywho, Stephanie Beacham, a notable guest star for this episode, returning from UFO. She was in the UFO episode Destruction.
I've watched her all the way from Bermuda. She's all yours from now.
Oh, but just the sight of Sherwood Price. I'm sorry, I still have flashbacks to It Could Be Practically Anywhere on the Island. I have never wanted a character, I don't think in anything, to suffer so much as I wanted Sherwood Price's character to suffer in that episode. He was infuriating, awful mugging, just the worst kind of performance.
Your Harry room.
Get in.
Mr. Room.
Rooftop.
Oh, sniper up there.
Multi-story car park, maximum.
Oh, send in Sherwood Price to deal with it. We can afford to lose him. Yeah, Sherwood Price, Robert Vaughan's business partner of the time. There he goes, and I gather he also was not an element of the Protectors setup conducive to a pleasant working environment. So, the sniper is making a getaway. The weather suddenly seems to have changed quite dramatically. Yeah, we've had some rain in wherever this is. Oh, but Carter's getting his moment to shine. Yeah, the guy is escaping in a car. Whoa! Sherwood Price doing his own stunts. This is actually quite exciting. And actually, he does look quite credible as a tough undercover security guy. Oh, look out! Oh no! Oh no, they shot Sherwood Price! Oh! What a shame. I'm so upset. Sherwood Price is dead. So, as we come back from the opening titles to Your Witness, guest star George Baker as well. So we're set up for good guest artists in this episode, if nothing else. Ah, this was France then. France airport.
All right, now will you tell me what this is all about?
And it's quite a big protector's operation by the look of it.
That's it.
Stephanie Beacham is appearing in a trial for a character named George Dixon, who I believe is George Baker's character.
You may not want protection, but nobody's going to tell me you don't need it.
Yes, they are now one protector down. However, will they cope without Carter? Oh, I recognise that piece of stock footage. That was used in Disappearing Trick, another very Paris-centric episode. And there he is, George Baker.
Explain, George. I do not like having people hired over my head.
Chrissy, you've got to be realistic about this. Mr. Rule will tell you.
Is that what you'll tell me, Mr. Rule?
Why not? You're the only witness to a killing.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so she's a witness. What's George Baker's involvement in all this?
How can he be dangerous? He's in custody.
We just saved your life, baby, and a friend of mine got shot helping us. Does that answer your question?
Oh, no.
What happened? There was a guy at the airport with a rifle.
Shot Carter. My God, how will we get along without Carter? Harry Rule is devastated by the loss of Carter, as you can tell.
She doesn't realize the Sacha Bessons of this world, they're killers.
I can't remember the relationship between George Baker and Stephanie Beacham at this point. I'm sorry. I don't... Are they married, or...?
Accept the help of people who are trained to protect you.
I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've seen this episode, in fact.
Child, then.
I do, oddly, I remember more about the ending than I do the rest of the story. This is one of those episodes, I don't know if
Not even you.
if you're much the same as I am. Sometimes I get episodes of shows sort of bundled together. I used to do that with UFO. I used to confuse the Danatek Affair with Responsibility Seat. This one I confuse with the episode whose title I cannot remember at this time. It was guest starring Anna Polk. Oh, Kind of Wild Justice. I don't know why, because again, they're two completely separate stories. One set in London, this one obviously in Paris, which has taken me by surprise. I didn't think this was a Europe set episode, but there we go, never mind. So, Harry is driving Stephanie Beacham around Paris, and wouldn't you know it, the Contessa has used her limo to block the pursuing naughty person, whoever that may be. That's a fun noise. Yes, thank you. And again, this is a good moment where you can spot local, just residents, admiring the filming that's come to their city. I think there's a scene in It Was All Over in Leipzig where Robert Vaughn has a close-up and you can see like 1 million people behind him. Anywho, who lives in a house like this? I recognise it. I think we've been here before.
Paris, where are we now?
Well, I never really paced it out, but I would guess that we're about 50 yards from where we started.
This is Paul Boucher's groovy pad. There he is, the man in person.
I see this barbarian didn't give you a drink yet. What will it be?
And this was a set, I believe, it was a few times in the first season.
See if I've forgotten anything.
Oh. I think it was in The Big Hit and Disappearing Trick. This was a regular set for the first season. And then never used again, I don't think, in the second year. Presumably, you know, they would only film on this set when they had stories set in Paris, but it seems strange to junk what was essentially a regular set.
Charm a little more. She's a strong bird.
Paul's pulled his finest bird-catching cravat out of the wardrobe. That is quite something.
The body had recently been given a lining of nylon mesh.
Oh.
Bulletproof. 50-50 protection against a low-caliber weapon, maybe. The garage that installed it must know something. That's what I figured. So I concentrated on the car.
So, Paul has been investigating the car which contained the guy that presumably shot poor old Carter. We are going to miss him. I suppose, you know, if you want, you can watch this in reverse order to the other episode that he appeared in, which I think was the numbers game. You can say, Carter lives, and we're all happy. I prefer to say Carter is dead until I hear otherwise. And it's quite revealing about the Protectors that so far they haven't mentioned whether their friend has lived or died. It's like, he's done his part. We don't need to hear any more about it.
Private property?
Depends on whose property.
So we're breaking into the garage to see what we can see.
Call the police.
And until Martin, I checked his record. He'd find having the cups around here about as funny as an open grave.
Maybe you should have raised that point before you broke in. So... yeah, it's just occurred to me how strange what I'm doing right now is. The Contessa's found something. Yeah, it's just so strange that I'm sat in a hotel in Slough watching an episode of The Protectors. When I could have, I mean, actually yesterday I was at home skimming through the channels. Yeah, this was on ITV4, not this episode. I think it was Trial. So it's a much nicer setting to watch this in. Meanwhile, Paul is, well, he's not playing cards with Stephanie Beacham because she's obviously a bit stressed about the whole people potentially trying to kill me kind of thing.
I've got better things to do with my life.
Yeah, haven't we all?
I've got a Moonbase Alpha security section to ruin. Oh, I like this music.
Now that sounds like the best idea yet.
Oh. No, it is the piece that I was thinking it was. Again, the Network Protectors soundtrack CD is just one of my favourite soundtrack releases of any Anderson show. Such wonderful, easy listening music on that set. I don't think you can find it now. I mean, even before Network went bust, that was a very hard set to find. So, Stephanie Beacham clearly wants a bit of Paul Boucher. Paul Boucher is resisting.
It's all you've got. I don't mind sharing.
Get a good night's sleep, Christy. And no matter how hot it gets in here, don't open the shutters.
Ooh. He's a professional, that one. He'll probably say later on to Harry, oh, I resisted her charms. Or, Paul, why did you resist her charm? You know, they throw themselves at you. You take advantage of it, Paul. God knows I've done that on several occasions. Wasn't there an episode where he had to shoo his dog out of bed in order to take a lady he'd been protecting to it? Oh, well. Nice touch there as well, though, that the Paris skyline has the Eiffel Tower in it. Because, of course, it would. Oh, what's happened? Several hours later, apparently, Paul has failed. Oh, the cards are a mess. Paul has been conked.
Yeah.
The flat doesn't seem to have been ransacked except for his room. They've got Stephanie Beacham. Oh no. The plan was perfect to just drive round the block. Ah, some more lovely location filming with this episode though. And there's that voice. We recognise that voice. It's Robert Rietti, a frequent ITC voice-over artist when it came to dubbing foreign actors. Although he looks slightly, I know this is an odd thing to say, he looks slightly English, slightly familiar, that face.
This is simple. $700,000.
Certainly too young a face for that kind of voice.
And Sacha Besson was involved?
Undoubtedly. And the man is charged with killing. We have no actual proof, Contessa, but you see, the Holy Raid was big time.
Yes.
So,
3 Paris gangs linked up for the job.
the gang leader that Stephanie Beacham is testifying against is very naughty.
So, Contessa. Confidentially, we have a witness.
I thought he was going to say, he is safely behind bars, Contessa.
Which appears in court.
Right. Ah, I remember this setting now.
Not offering any excuses, but Christie did disobey instructions.
You mean she opened the shutters? But they still somehow...
Oh, it's a fatal mistake in their line of work.
Frankly, I don't see how asking questions around here will lead you to her. I should be in the club 70 if you want me.
George Baker, curiously, is not concerned about where she is. Indeed, the protectors do not seem that concerned because, you know, it's off to the casino. I may have missed the link between the kidnapping and the casino. But here's another young lady, slightly the worse for wear for drink. So Harry's going to try his luck on the detective front, possibly have a chat with her. Ah, oh, the Contessa is here as well. Yes, a lot of casino scenes in these ITC shows.
That's the first break I've had this evening.
Not many in the Anderson shows, oddly. I think there's more in the puppet shows with Duchess Assignment and Special Assignment.
Those are my favorite kind.
Hint, hint. Because believe it or not, this is going to be yet another Protectors episode in which the resolution of the plot involves a tobacco product. We had that before in, was it One and One Makes One? Where the conclusion of the plot revolved around Harry had lifted a cigarette end from somewhere.
See no evil, hear no evil. Avoid a bullet in the back of your head.
You can't really blame.
Cool title.
The stakes were as high as the Commandant says.
Shame we've already used the See No Evil title. There's still that lady in the corner to worry about.
You may have found the weak link.
I still can't remember how they got to the casino. I also recognise this lady, and it's going to annoy me until I can remember her name.
Would you like to help me play at the table?
I would prefer to drink champagne.
No, it's not going to come to me.
So, you have got a sister.
She almost looks like the actress who played Jean Hopkirk's sister in a couple of episodes in Randall and Hopkirk. I don't think it is, though. She must have done all of these old ITC shows, though. She must have been in more ITC casino scenes than I've had hot dinners.
We had a killing here, Henri Cartier.
You are fishing in, how you say, the deep water, monsieur.
Roux. Gerry Brough.
Harry?
And going back to what I said just there about there being quite a few... Oh, I recognise that face as well. Quite a few sort of casino scenes in The Protectors. I think that's mostly confined to the first season, when, you know, the shows seemed to revel in the fact that these were characters who were inexplicably wealthy and lived in this world where, you know, it was just extravagance was to be enjoyed. Whereas in the second year, it wasn't quite as common. I think the only time you really see them in a setting like this is in Zeke's Blues, and even then that's a nightclub. Sorry, I got distracted there by a very sunburnt-looking lady. Either she had a very good holiday, or the DVD restoration was a bit... Yeah, her. It was a bit generous on the face colouring there.
This is not the place to ask you questions.
You got a better idea?
Rien ne va plus.
I go now. I take the taxi. I see you in 1 hour. Place A. I
wonder if you could intercut the Duchess of Royston into this scene. It's probably quite easy, actually, to get several Anderson characters around the roulette wheel, but Scarlet in there as well, possibly. Sadly, I don't think Joe 90 had his day at the casino. That would have been something to see.
Le 22. Noir, fer et bas.
Ah, another extra there, the croupier, I recognise as... I think he was in UFO. I think he was the gunman who shoots Not Straker in the responsibility seat. Anywho, Harry is leaving with Lady. Yeah, I want to say this guy was in UFO as well. Yes, he was in Confetti Check A-OK. I think he was one of the international ambassador guys that Straker had to convince to put money into Shadow. Possibly he was the British contingent? Anywho, I'm talking about a lot of other episodes this week rather than the one that I'm supposed to be looking at. More lovely music here. Quite a nice, interesting shot here. The mixture of darks and shadows and different shades of blue. Anywho, I think the lady has something important to tell Harry.
Monsieur Roux?
She thinks that's him coming up the stairs. But the music tells us otherwise. Plus the fact that we haven't seen his face yet. Oh.
Harry?
Oh, here he comes. Is that Harry? Yep. Arriving just too late. And dead. Well. Even Harry's overcome with not even concern, just sort of, well, that's another lead down the toilet then. First Carter, now Jean Hopkirk's possible sister. What else can go wrong for him tonight? It's an interesting shot taken from on top of a ladder.
Yes, it was Dixon.
Oh, George Baker killed her. Okay. Well, the Contessa sat back and did nothing. She could have apprehended him beforehand, but no. Yeah, this is definitely the guy from Confetti Check.
Leave that now, Carlo. Go home.
Oh, there he
Mr. Dixon?
hasn't had much of a speaking part in this episode yet.
Sure you don't want me to stick it on?
I think he's the guy who, when Straker pitches the Shadow defense budget, he's the one who says, fleet of submarines, base on the moon, satellites, as if satellites is by far the most out there part of that setup. Oh dear. So, our UFO guy has gone. George Baker is gathering up, I'm going to presume he's gathering up all the money to put in a suitcase to, well, I guess he's going to scalp her. Because that's probably what you do in this situation. Oh, but here come the protectors. Odd that Chino's disappeared from the story. He could be quite useful at this point. So, turn off the lights. Pretend no one's home. It's not going to work with our heroes, though. Robert Vaughn has this knack of he makes entering a room look very cool. Very few actors can carry off entering a room the way he does. But he's advancing towards the back of the casino. As George Baker has made it look like he's out the back, but in fact, oh, he was hiding in the shadows. Whoa! Well, bit of slight stunt work there.
Well, thanks for the help.
Well, I had every confidence in you.
And we're back to the cigarette case. This is, again, about to become an important point. It looks like Harry's got the villains under control. But unfortunately, he has figured without one rather key villain in this scenario. There she is. Stephanie Beecham was in on the plan all along, which causes the Contessa to break out one of her special cigars, which she hinted at earlier.
How did you find that?
I'll tell you. A bullion split between Cartier, Besson, and whoever else was on the job. It's got to mean trouble.
It did.
Oh, so she was in on the bullion raid, or whatever it was. I've waffled over what was actually driving the plot of this episode. Also noticing that the Contessa is relighting her cigar after she's already got it lit. It's something you see a lot in these old shows. Continuity regarding smoking is understandably difficult to maintain.
All the evidence he's got. So, he plans a phony attempt to kill her at the airport and an equally phony kidnapping.
To be followed, no doubt, by a last-minute escape on the eve of the trial.
Where does that leave us?
Okay.
Well, now let me see. Was Cartier already dead?
So it's quite a simple setup.
In prison, thanks to Christie's evidence. To you.
And it's bumped one member of the gang out of the
three of you pulled from
the money.
Well.
So it goes from 3 people getting cuts to 2.
I think that just about wraps up the case.
But they didn't count on the protectors and their tobacco weaponry. There we go. Nice and simple. And oddly, I remember the first time I watched this episode, that was where the episode ended. ITV4, when they showed this episode, they just cut this final scene. I guess, for time. It doesn't really add anything to the story. Because particularly with the first series, we've seen this kind of scene several times. It's still nice. I think these two have a really nice chemistry.
Two-faced, deceitful, tricky, weasel-like, treacherous
So long as Robert Vaughn doesn't end the episode making one of his rude gestures, so we say. But as we leave the nighttime streets of Paris, that was The Protectors, Your Witness. And as I said, I haven't seen that episode for quite a long time. And despite... I got it right! Judith Arthey, that was the Randall and Hopkirk actress. Despite not having seen it for a while, despite not having remembered it quite as well as I should have, I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Nice to see it again, nice strong guest cast, and I got to finally see Sherwood Price get his just desserts. About time too.
The Protectors.
Well, avenues and alleyways, so that's always good, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's always sunny, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, it kind of looks kind of nice, Mediterranean and nice. Not always.
Not the Londony bits.
No,
I mean,
not the Londony bits.
Yeah, there's an exotic aspect
There
to
is
it.
an exotic.
If you're trying to find positives for the Protectors, it's maybe some exotic locations, and they're only 25 minutes long.
Yes, I mean, I have to say I am displaying my ignorance because I've never seen a single episode.
Well, except for when Chris watches the Randomiser,
Obviously.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah, exactly. So we hope you can join us next week for the second part of my interview with Ayshea Brough.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
More fun and games with the Randomiser. Potentially another Fab Fact.
I'll try.
More news and more from you, our wonderful podsterons, because I have no doubt you will still be emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.com, posting comments on our YouTube channel, so I'll read out some of those next week, and joining our Facebook group too.
And leaving us ratings and all that stuff too.
Exactly. Look forward to it. So, see you next week.
See you next week.
Cheers then.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Is it okay if I wave? I mean, I know it doesn't really work for audio.
I think it's okay. I think we can hear a wave, though, can't we? Particularly in your tone of voice. If you would say goodbye as you wave.
What, I really have to shake myself around?
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm doing it. Goodbye. Like that.
Yeah,
Does that work?
That sounds like you're waving. See, a wave has a sound.
Brilliant.
A sound wave, if you will.
Nice. Gosh, you should do audio drama performances with tips like that.
Not a bad idea, is it? Yeah. Who would I approach to do such a thing?
Oh, I don't know. We probably know some people.
Yeah, let's ask around. Have a look in our address book.
Yeah. Yeah, we must know an audio drama production company or executive producer of audio at one of these things or something.
That may have been on the podcast in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Fine. I'll put some calls in,
yeah,
and you keep practicing,
Thanks very
and
much.
I'll keep practicing my wave.
All right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.